Ami Kaufman, the man with the best op-eds, and now I'm going to let you. Now I'm going to let you speak.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, the news
You always
that
let me
was
speak.
missed. Exactly.
Well, we were talking last week a lot about Madaya, that town in Syria, where basically people are starving because they've been besieged by Syrian forces, by Assad's forces. There was a deal reached.
Speaking of the people trying to flee that region.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, good segue actually. And there was a deal reached that Assad is going to let some food in. But this report, this headline from Al Jazeera says that the UN says that there's an estimated 400,000 people that are currently living under siege in 15 different areas across Syria, who might be in kind of similar situations that those people are in Madaya. We have a report about what's going on in Madaya in Syria. Let's check it out.
Let's take a look.
The crisis in Syria continues to intensify with hopes of new talks underway. UN Special Envoy to Syria Staffan de Mistura said Sunday he insists on holding the Syrian talks in Geneva on January 25th. De Mistura met Syrian Foreign Minister Walid Mualem Saturday. Mualem said his country is ready to take part in the upcoming meeting, but also asked for a list of groups that will be classified as terrorist organizations.
And after this, I will continue my trip also to Tehran. So it's premature to make any comments.
At least 57 people died Saturday as an airstrike hit a courthouse and a prison in the rebel-held town of Marat el-Numan. Most of the casualties were prisoners held by the extremist jihadist group, the Al-Nusra Front. It was not clear whether the airstrikes were carried out by Syrian or Russian forces. Meanwhile, evidence of an increasing famine in the southern Syrian city of Madaya continues to mount. Since July 2015, the town was reportedly besieged by President Bashar al-Assad's forces and the Shiite group Hezbollah. The UN is about to enter the besieged town in the coming days after reaching an agreement with the Syrian government. The aid distribution was supposed to start Sunday and was postponed for logistical reasons.
Madaya is one of many besieged areas inside Syria. Around about 400,000 people are in besieged areas. Overall, if you look at the population that's hard to reach in Syria, that extends upwards to almost 4.5 million people across the country.
At the beginning of 2016, the future doesn't look too bright in Syria, a country torn between different political and ethnic factions. It has also become the focus of a geopolitical struggle alongside Yemen and Afghanistan as Russia enters the 100th day of its aerial campaign and months after the US coalition began its own campaign. With so many factions in this puzzle, the road to full reconciliation seems still long and difficult.
So many factions in this puzzle, I think, is probably the probably the best line to describe everything that's going on right now in Syria.
In Syria, especially, definitely. Speaking of, the Cold War, I guess you could call it in the Arab world between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Saudi Arabia's been.
It stays cold.
Yeah. Saudi Arabia's been trying recently to, clinch more and more Arab states to get on her side and support her. One of the states that she wants, a Muslim state, a nuclear Muslim state, is Pakistan. The foreign minister traveled there over the weekend, and yesterday the defense minister was there to try to get Pakistan on its side, and it looks like it clinched a deal. The chief of staff, Pakistani chief of staff, General Raheel Sharif, reiterated yesterday that any threat to Saudi Arabia's territorial integrity will evoke a response from Islamabad.
I'm going to translate that for everybody because Pakistan's a nuclear nation.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now we have two nuclear nations, both Iran and Pakistan, and things might get. Yeah. They might not stay cold as you just were wishing for.
There we go. Good morning.
Speaking about tension and more nuclear states, we're going off to the Far East, East Asia, to Korea. After, last week North Korea tested that bomb, which we don't know if it was a hydrogen bomb or a regular atom bomb, but some certain test did happen. Tensions are again on the rise. South Korea decided to use propaganda again over the border over its loudspeakers. But yesterday, the United States showed solidarity, flying, as we can see from these pictures, a huge, massive B-52 bomber over South Korea in a show of force that we are with South Korea.
By the way, I have to say this is not the first. Well, last time last time there was a nuclear test, by North Korea, the Americans did the exact same thing. We actually devoted back in the day about half an hour to the B-52 flight over over those skies. I'm glad we didn't do it this way. I'm just wondering out loud with you. You know?
For me, it's a whole deja vu back to the tensions we just had recently in August. I mean,
Exactly.
it was almost a war broke out, and this looks like it's just escalating again.
Escalating
to
again,
something very similar.
and you know, and advocates against actually the Iran nuclear deal would, you know, argue to the Americans that supposedly things were supposed to resolve via a deal also in North Korea, and clearly it didn't happen.
And
we're looking at
I'm
that.
very glad you brought that up because I have an op-ed from the Washington Post about which shows a bit of criticism towards America, but also the West, about how we treat North Korea a bit too lightly. We treat Kim Jong-un as, you know, the funny guy. We make movies about him and stuff like
Very
that.
true.
And here's this. This is from Jeffrey Lewis. He's the director of the East Asia Non-Proliferation Program at the Center for Non-Proliferation Studies. He's writing in the Washington Post, North Korea is a joke, and that's the problem. Let's see just one quote from there. We are foregoing any meaningful opportunity to slow or constrain their nuclear development. We are not making any effort to open their appalling system. In fact, we are helping close it off. Perhaps one day we'll stop laughing and notice that a brutal, nuclear-armed North Korea that terrorizes its citizens and its neighbors isn't all that funny.
Funny. Nah, I mean, we're going to let that resonate. Okay.
Yes. Let's go to the States. It is primary month.
Please.
It's, you know, the mudslinging is in full swing now. We're heading to Iowa on February 1st.
Yeah.
Lots of polls coming out. This one is an NBC News Wall Street poll that shows that Cruz is leading Trump in Iowa 28-24. But the Real Clear Politics average, which takes, you know, it's the aggregate of many polls over a long period of time, Cruz is leading by only 2.5 points. Interestingly enough, though, this is really important. This is a poll that was done about likely caucus goers, people who say in the poll that they will likely go. But when the poll goes to pretty much everyone who considers themselves Republican, Cruz jumps ahead. And there are people saying that Trump may win it because a lot of new caucus voters are going to start caucusing in Iowa. So it's really a close battle. But I got to say that Ted Cruz is he's the man who has to win this one. He is the most organized man in Iowa when it comes to staff, headquarters, grassroots. He is really running this campaign
he's got his stuff
extremely
together,
well.
as we say.
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, in New Hampshire, Trump is leading by double digits.
By double digits.
Which is just a week after, or maybe 10 days after.
And I think, you know, just like North Korea shouldn't be treated like a joke, neither should Donald Trump.
Not at all.
Not anymore. Ami, I want to thank you because we are going to move along. But fabulous stuff, as always, this week. When